Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, Mouth Dancing with Young. I'm trying to just enjoy the process lately, instead of thinking too much about getting through it and finishing it, you know? It's like they say it's about the journey, not the destination, right? And it's about the friends you meet along the way. It's not just about the end point, you know? The destination, getting there. Because once you get there, that means it's over. Right? And when it's over, I don't know, there's no point in being anxious about that. The important part is the journey, getting there, the process. You know? Take your time and enjoy it. Don't rush to get to the end. That's my philosophy right now. You know how people used to really talk a lot about how much they hate mayonnaise? There were even t-shirts about it. I remember seeing them. They were like, you know, mayonnaise is disgusting. It's the worst condiment on the planet. And it just makes me vomit just the thought of it. Lately, it seems to have become ketchup that's the most hated. It's like everyone's like, oh god, ketchup is so gross. It's basically just tomatoes and vinegar and sugar. That's so gross. I prefer, and then they name off some other condiment that they like better, right? I don't know, mustard or aioli sauce or some kind of yogurt-based sauce. I don't know what people like, but there's always someone bitching about condiments for some reason. And I just need to let all of you know, no one gives a fuck, okay? Stop bitching about which condiments you think are better and which ones are gross. Keep it to yourself because it doesn't matter. Your personal taste in condiments doesn't matter. And also, I'm going to call a lot of you out for just being trendy fucks hopping on the bandwagon. Because, you know, a few years back everyone hated mayo. Now mayo seems to be okay again, and now everyone hates ketchup. What's next, you know? Dijon mustard? Is everyone going to suddenly hate Dijon mustard next year? And everyone's going to be like, oh god, that's like the worst condiment I've ever tasted in my life. I actually prefer mayonnaise and ketchup. It's like, shut the fuck up, alright? No one gives a shit. No one ever gave a shit except you fucking narcissistic fuck. You thought people would care, people would be interested in your opinion on sauces, but they're not. They might pretend to be because, you know, they're your friends or your family or whatever, but in reality, they don't give a shit. No one gives a shit. No one ever did. So you take your fucking opinion about condiments and shove it up your fucking ass. I'm not kidding either. The 80s were a wild time, weren't they? There were a lot of, like, scares and panics in that decade. Growing up in that decade was kind of stressful, I think, especially if you were a kid, right? And you couldn't really process all the information correctly, and you just knew that there was scary shit happening, and that you should be afraid for some reason. I remember there was fear of killer bees. In the news they said the killer bees are coming from, I don't know, somewhere. Mexico or Africa or something? I don't know where they came from supposedly, but they were gonna like take over the US and they were gonna kill us. They could kill you with like one sting or something, right? That was pretty scary as a child. You know, I was outside a lot and I was like, oh god, what if that bee's a killer bee? What if it stings me and I die? There was also fear of like Tylenol because some maniac was like poisoning Tylenol bottles. People were dying from taking medicine. There was the Cold War, of course, with Russia. We were afraid of getting nuked, and there were a bunch of propaganda-esque movies about it, like Rocky, fighting that Russian guy, what is his name? Igor or Ivan or something? I don't know. Who was just portrayed as just like this comically evil, robotic guy who hates America, right? Let's see, what else was there? The ozone layer, right? The ozone layer's got a big hole in it, and was caused by humans, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and pretty soon the sun is going to just melt the entire planet because we don't have an ozone layer. That was something that was pretty scary at the time. People were also afraid of Satanists, like, that neighbor kid who's too into, heavy metal. He's probably worshiping Satan, right? And Satanists want to, like, eat your babies and sacrifice your family for their satanic rituals. So that was pretty scary too. I was like, oh no, devil worshippers, What if they try to kidnap me and like sacrifice me to the devil? That was a pretty scary thought. The thought of just, ending up in some weird person's house and having terrible shit done to me, that was frightening. So yeah, the 80s were pretty wild in that sense. I mean, people always talk about like the movies and the music and the other pop culture stuff, which was pretty cool, but the 80s was also a time of intense dread and terror for the general public because of all the fear-mongering in the media, right? I guess that got a lot of views for the media, and the ratings were good, so they really, pushed the gas hard on that stuff. But another thing that really makes me think of the 80s is the candy. They had a lot of different candy back then that, I remember as a kid I would try to get a little bit of money all the time from my parents, and my favorite things to do were to go get candy at the gas station or go to an arcade and play games, right? But they had so much candy back then, like Charleston Chews, Lemon Heads, Red Hots, Mike and Ike's, Mambas, and all the candy bars like Snickers, Almond Joy, Mounds. What else is there? Now and Laters? Yeah, there was just so much stuff, so much candy, right? Heath bars. And I don't know if they sell that kind of candy as much these days. It was really cheap and plentiful and very bad for your teeth. I remember I was chewing on this, I think it was a Mamba or something like that. It was sort of one of those chewy gummy type candies. And my filling came out while I was chewing on it, and then I bit my filling and that hurt like hell. So then I had to go to the dentist for that. Get my filling refilled. And the tooth that's gonna fall out anyway is one of my baby teeth, so I don't even have that tooth anymore. Yeah, a lot of candy. Oh yeah, they even had cigarette candy. Like, it was gum, right? And it was in the shape of a cigarette. And then when you blew into it, like a puff of powdered sugar would come out and it would look like a cloud of smoke from a cigarette. They used to sell that to kids, basically promoting cigarette smoking to little children. I don't think that's around anymore. And just the toys in general back then were way more dangerous. Like, you had guns that looked, cap guns that looked really realistic. I had one that was like a black pistol. It was made of metal and it looked pretty much like a real gun. I could have probably like stuck up a store with that or something, right? Or robbed a bank. And you also had like slingshots. I don't know if kids still play with those. It's pretty dangerous shooting rocks at stuff. And BB guns and pellet guns. And we would even have fireworks wars. That was pretty intense back then. Pretty fun time to grow up, actually. I guess we still have a lot of fear-mongering these days. And a lot less candy. We still have candy, but not the same kinds. I think the snacks have changed. Adults probably don't like giving their kids the same crap that they ate as children, right? They want their kids to eat healthy stuff. I'm gonna close out this episode talking about weebs. Do you know what a weeb is? It's short for weeaboo. And a weeaboo is sort of a nickname for those people who are really obsessed with Japanese pop culture. People who like anime and manga and like ninjas and samurai and Japanese history and Japanese food and culture. They probably study Japanese language. And, you know, they're referred to sort of derogatorily as weebs. It's definitely not a compliment. But yeah, weebs, a lot of them end up being really fascist, and they end up being nationalist for Japan because they love Japan so much that they like to defend her honor, right? And yeah, weebs are just a wild bunch of people. They like to cosplay. You know, they'll dress up like their favorite anime characters, even when it's not Halloween, right? It's called cosplaying, which stands for costume play, I think. Yeah, that's one of their favorite activities, and weebs tend to be a little bit weird, and I'm not particularly a fan of them either. I don't like them. Usually they tend to be Westerners, usually white, and they're often racist towards other Asians like Koreans and Chinese people because Japan is superior in their minds, and these other Asians are just annoying and make Japan look bad by talking about Japan's war crimes during World War II and before that. So yeah, weebs need to be destroyed. They need to be crushed. And they also just have a really chauvinistic attitude toward Asia in general. Even Japan, they have a sort of superior attitude. They tend to get coddled when they go there because Japanese people are really nice to white Westerners for some reason. Yeah. The weebs. The weebs are a problem. They're sort of a product of America's occupation of Japan and anti-communism. It's time to destroy all weebs. I know you're probably saying, I'm not one of the bad weebs, I'm one of the good ones. I'm not one of the Nazi weebs. Doesn't matter. You know, you're an adult who watches cartoons and you are obsessed with video games. You need to be destroyed. And I'm going to be part of the group that's destroying you. So watch out, you fucks. Alright? Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.